By the Bobcat coaching staff, and it's a years in advance operation. They work on this every single day, every single week of their year, and it is remarkable the undertaking that it is to get these new players to come to Bozeman to take and wear the blue and gold for the Bobcats. We have a great program for you today. We're going to hear from a number of coaches. We're going to see a lot of film today, and so with that, let's welcome in now in his second year as the head coach of the Bobcats, Jeff Choate.
Thank you, Jay. Boom, we're done. Drop the mic. Let's get out of here. So that was a lot of work, man. I'll tell you, I know Coach Petry's going to refer to this probably a little bit too. Michael is our recruiting coordinator. It's a process. It's really, in most cases, an 18-month process. You're identifying young men really a year and a half before they're going to graduate from high school. And in our case, it was a little bit condensed. It was a 12-month project. And so a year ago on this date, we called young men around the state of Montana and reached out to their coaches and identified the top about 8 to 10 guys in state, and we offered the guys that we wanted. And I'll tell you right now, we got everyone but one. There's one guy that we offered that we went head-to-head against Montana and didn't get, just one. And I'm talking not just in the state of Montana, but around from coast to coast, literally from coast to coast. From Palatka, Florida to Sammamish, Washington, from Tampa Bay all the way to Compton. And I think we put in a lot of hours and a lot of hard work, and very, very proud of the work of our staff. We had a plan. We stuck to the plan. We didn't deviate. We didn't reach. We took kids that wanted to be Bobcats. This wasn't their last option. In fact, we beat many Mountain West schools and won a lot of head-to-head battles in the Big Sky. And I think that's going to be shown out over the next 24 hours when people start looking at what we put together and evaluate the young men that we have in this class. I think they're going to see the high quality that we have. Not just our staff, who I'll introduce in a moment, but there's some really important people that I want to thank. When we start talking about what we're selling, the product that we're selling here at Montana State, it's really threefold. The first is the blueprint that we have academically, what we're looking for, the type of young men that we want to bring into our campus community. And so for them to come on campus and be able to interact one-on-one with members of our campus community, whether it's professors, deans, academic advisors, to sit down one-on-one with their families on Friday afternoons, I can't tell you the impact that makes on them. And it definitely separated us from many other programs in the recruiting process. The special one-on-one attention that they got, and the tremendous job that our faculty and staff do selling our program here academically. And so I can't say enough about that. It doesn't work if it's not a two-way street. It's not just that these professors want to engage with our student athletes when they come on campus. This group of young men has a 3.4 cumulative GPA coming in. And so I think that speaks to the high caliber of young men that we're recruiting. The parents, these kids were phenomenal through the recruiting process. Coach Messingham and I have been doing this probably the longest anybody on staff. I think we were speaking last weekend about the fact that we can't remember going through a recruiting cycle where every single kid that came on an official visit had a parent and sometimes two with them. So that was I think that tells you the type of young men that we're recruiting, the job that these parents did raising them, their commitment to them being exceptional in the classroom as well as on the football field. One of the other things that we sell is our football tradition here. 120 years of playing football at Montana State University, 23 championships, 3 national, 20 conference. Just the ability to come and play in front of a fan base that's as passionate as we are. We have a 17,500 seat stadium, and we fill to more than capacity each week. We were 6th in the nation in the FCS in attendance this year. And then one of the other things that we sell is the community of Bozeman. Submitting rankings as a top 10 college town, #1 ski town in the country, #1 place to live in the United States. You go down the list. And so we've got tremendous value in terms of what we're working out and showing that. And I'll tell you how that value pays dividends is by, rankings and all this stuff. They're kind of like stats. You focus on them a little bit, you pat yourself on the back a little bit. The true value of a recruiting class is going to come 2, 3, 4 years down the road when these guys are playing and winning championships here at Montana State. But I really feel strongly that we've done an exceptional job of putting a group of young men that are very cohesive together. And so I'm very excited about that. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that go into this recruiting process. You talk about just at the beginning, the evaluation of these young men. contacting high school coaches, getting out in the spring and traveling around the United States and around the state of Montana, developing relationships with them. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Garrett and Brian from our video services that they do a job that's second to none. I feel like we're recruiting on an FBS level, an FCS program, and a big part of that is the social media campaign that we put together, the edits that they push out, the highlight videos that you saw today that we can utilize in recruiting, and I think they truly separate us. And so I think that's one of the things that we do a really good job of. The community in Bozeman. I mean, it's Arkinda and their staff here at Granttree, the job that they do in hosting this event and many others for us. Michael, Tony, his staff, Joseph down at the R-Bar. We bring kids in, their families want to see downtown. We can get them down there during the day. We try to highlight each piece of this community that's really special. Josh Palmer and 14 North staff did a great job for us. Ryan and Burger Bob's and Bob Fletcher and the job they do supporting us. You know, the Hilton Garden Inn hosts us a lot for recruiting as well. Scott and the staff at the Oasis, a unique Montana experience that we're able to give some of our visitors. Jimmy and University Catering, Miller Dining. I mean, not very many places that I've been do I take the parents and the kids to the food service for breakfast in the morning. Okay, that's the highlight of the trip here. So, you know, a tip of the hat to that. That's another unbelievable thing that we have to sell. Butch and his staff at the Student Union. Mel and her crew of sports facilities. I mean, I know it sounds like a little thing, but you know, the guys like to see the field. Sometimes there's this little white stuff called snow. It's on the field. And Sarge gets up in the morning and plows that thing off on a Saturday, so when we're taking those kids up to the third floor of the stadium, they can see the Bobcat heading at the 50-yard line. It's that type of support that we get that really does make a difference for us. Dave Fletcher and the pit staff did a great job of helping us in recruiting. The MSU faculty that I mentioned again, I mean, I can't say enough about the contributions that they make. But also, Leon and our administrative staff, the support that they give us, showing up to events, meeting parents while they're on campus. Jamie Rizzuto, our academic student services person, spends a lot of time with these young men and their families while they're here. Alex Wilcox, our strength and conditioning coordinator, who sits down and gives these guys one-on-one time. Rob Higgs makes sure these guys aren't damaged goods before they get here. Just a tremendous group of people. And you know, there's two others that I think that do a lot for us. Really three. Justin Jessup, who's our interim equipment manager, gives up his Saturdays to come up and show these guys all the bells and whistles and Under Armour gear and make sure they know that, hey, we're going to fit you right, we're going to get you taken care of. I talked about Garrett and Brian. I mean, we get the green screen out, all these edits and stuff that you see us pushing out. That's what he's doing, and he's working hard to get that done. And then Cole Moore and Brittany Johnson that do an unbelievable job of really a lot of the planning that goes in to our official weekends and making sure that everything runs smoothly. So thank you guys for everything that you guys do, and let's give them all a round of applause. We've got staff really around the state right now, and it's kind of a cool deal. We sent people to Miles City, Kalispell, and Missoula. This evening we're going to have people heading out to Butte, Billings, and Helena, and I didn't forget anywhere. All right, so it's going to be kind of fun. And Bobcat Nation statewide will get an opportunity to spend some time with some coaches. But we do have a number of members of our staff here. I want to start with our coordinators. Courtney Messingham, our offensive coordinator, and almost through our quarterbacks coach. We got a new quarterbacks coach. He's actually up in Great Falls right now. And Ty Gregorak, his wife Candace, and I believe that's Gab. Coach Ione, our assistant head coach, linebackers coach. Ryan Armstrong, our offensive line coach. Montana Matt Miller, wide receivers. I mentioned our recruiting coordinator, running backs coach, Michael Petrie. And then last but not least, my wife, Janet. So thank you. That's what will tell you separates us is we spend a lot of time in our home. And not a lot of staffs will do that. One of the things that's unique about Bozeman is we're not 20 miles from campus or have to fight traffic or whatever. We can take them right up Katie and sit down and get to know them a little bit better in an environment, bringing them into our home. And I think that's one of the things that stood apart is the family feel that we've created here. And I'll tell you another thing that separates us is the men that we just introduced. I truly believe we have the best staff in the Big Sky Conference, and it's really easy to go to work and sell a product you believe in. So I think it's awesome that we've got these gentlemen here. So I think we're on to Jay and getting rolling. I kind of got through my thank yous. I will take questions at the end. I want to get through the program and let you see some of the young men that we want to brag about. In reality, this is their day. They only get assigned one letter of intent. That's the way it works. You can transfer to more than one school, but you only get one in LI. And so this is that one day for them to take a bow. I know their families are tremendously proud of their accomplishment, not just between the white lines, but as students as well. And excited about you getting an opportunity to see them as well. So I'll turn it back over to Jay.
I want to just kind of rewind here and talk about some reoccurring themes that you guys are hearing about this group. So I think Coach Petrie mentioned the 25 state championships that are represented with these young men. Their senior year record combined was 216 and 63, okay? So winning matters. Kids coming from winning programs is important, and that was a huge emphasis of ours. We put a lot of time, effort, energy, and our dollars behind continuing to build ourselves at the line of scrimmage. Games are always going to be one of the trenches until this game changes dramatically. And so for us to invest like we did in the offensive and defensive line, and not just bodies, but winners and big-time players like Travis Yates, who was the preseason Trinity player, defensive lineman of the year. The Trinity League, I know you may not be familiar with this, but it's the private school league kind of in Southern California. It's where basically Modern Day, St. John Bosco, Orange Lutheran, all the big-time programs in Southern California are in the Trinity League. This guy was a preseason, the guy, the defensive lineman of the year in that area. And so it's important for us to recognize just how special and unique this group is. The other thing that we emphasized was speed at the skill positions. We felt like we had to get faster. And so we saw that with the wide receivers as well as the running back group. And I think you'll see that continuing with the DBs. We signed 6 high school quarterbacks. I told myself a long time ago, when I get a chance to be a head coach, I'm going to sign 4 to 6 high school quarterbacks every year. And you might say, why? Who's the best athlete on the team in most high school teams? The quarterback. Who's the best leader on the team in most high school teams? The quarterback. For us to be really, really good, we need to have great leaders and we need to have playmakers. And so that's reflected there. And then the last thing about this group that I think is obvious, but I want to make sure we emphasize it. Our heart and soul is always going to come from Montana. We may go somewhere else to get some arms and legs from time to time, but our heart and soul is going to come from Montana. And that's reflected again in this class. As last year's, we signed more kids from the state of Montana than anybody in the FCS, including the team on the other side of the divide. And so we're proud of that. I think we got some guys. We'll see. They got to get up there and they got to put their money where their mouth is and put their work in. But we're excited about this group of young men and feel like we've got the foundation has been laid for a tremendous future. And the one thing about this deal is, I think it takes about 18 to 24 months to really change culture. And I think we're ahead of schedule. I think we're more in that 18-month range where I think we've got the roster flipped. The guys that are here, the 2 classes that we've recruited, the transfers that we bought in, and the young men that are still in our program, there's no doubt about it. They understand what we expect. It's night and day when we walk into meeting rooms in our off-season program right now. These kids all have pen and paper out. They're locked in. They're listening. We're not having to correct them on details. They understand what the expectations are, and they understand this too. They understand that if we don't have the toughest schedule in the FCS this next fall, I guarantee you we got one of the top 10 toughest schedules. And we're not backing down from that. That's why they came here. They came here to play an extremely high level of football. We open up against a great program at Washington State that finished 2nd in the Pac-12 North, and then we back it up the next week in a home opener against the defending Missouri Valley champs. And so they know the work that's going to have to go into this. We're going to have some of these guys are going to have to contribute to that. But it's an exciting time to be a Bobcat. I can't emphasize enough what's already been said many, many times, but how much we appreciate the support of Bobcat Nation, and the people in this room are a huge part of our success. And so with that being said, I'm going to start with the media and ask if you guys have any questions, and then we'll
you got from the recruiting class.
Our biggest strength, I think we've hit on it over and over, they're winners. I think that's the if there's one underlying theme, and we've called this the class of champions for a long time. There's just so many guys that have competed and succeeded at a very high level.
Kind of expanded the recruiting footprint this year. Was that part of the plan coming in, or guys from Florida on mission coming in?
Yeah, asking about kind of expanding our footprint a little bit, dipping into Florida, for example. There's some interesting things. A lot of people probably don't understand. Courtney, when he was at Southern Miss and Iowa State, recruited Florida extensively, and probably some other places too. And Coach Armstrong was a head high school coach at Lake Gibson High School and Kathleen High School, which are two very, very good programs in Polk County, just outside of Tampa. So he's got a lot of friends that he coached with and alongside. And obviously, when we start saying, hey, we want speed, well, where do you go for speed? You go Texas, you go Florida, you go California. And so it just so happened that there was some connectivity there, and it allowed us to get some really good kids. I mean, the reason we got James Campbell was because of our engineering program. And that was what separated us in the recruiting process. So that's the type of kid he is. And so I think it's just the product that we're selling, and I think the energy around our program, and obviously you got the connectivity between Coach Messingham and Coach Armstrong and the state of Florida did help us there.
On that same note, you guys got back into Seattle, Boise areas that have got the recruiting late now, at the traditional recruiting.
Yeah, I think you have to have a presence in the I-5 corridor right now in this league. We got to stop waving the white flag over there and saying Eastern. If they don't go to Washington State, they go to Eastern Washington. Well, there's a lot of really good football players over there. Geographically, it's an area that fits us. It's very close. We have direct flights from Seattle to Bozeman. Kane did an awesome job of developing some relationships over there. We've started to kind of get some traction. You get one kid one year, you get two kids the next year. Pretty soon you're getting 3, 4, 5 kids, and I think we're a tremendous option for people in that area. And then you mentioned the Boise thing. I think this about Boise, and like Spokane has become a really good basketball town. Why? Gonzaga basketball. Boise has become a really good football town. Why? Boise State football. Over the last 15 years, it's been a great place in football world. And so kids grow up wanting to be ball players. The football in the Boise Valley is very, very good. The other thing that's interesting is, Boise is a larger metropolitan area than Spokane is now. And so there's more bodies. Well, recruiting is kind of a population-driven activity. The more people, the more football players. And then you stack on top of that there's a lot of familiarity with people in that area, with Matt being down there recruiting, and Byron and myself. My brother's a high school coach and teacher down there, so it just made a lot of sense for us.
You mentioned how long it takes for a recruiting class to kind of find its way or figure out the impact of a recruiting class. So maybe 2 to 3 years from now, what is your hope for these guys?
Yeah, just asking about kind of understanding that we all brag about our recruiting class on signing day, but the reality is it takes a while for how that class really achieved to play out a little bit. And how do we see this thing playing out over the next couple of years? Well, I think we have to have probably 4 to 6 difference makers in each class. Guys that are really going to have immediate impacts, like a Chris Murray did this year, or a Kevin Cassis. Guys that are going to come in and they're going to put their stamp on the program immediately. And then you're going to have guys that it takes, especially in the offensive and defensive line, it takes a little longer for those guys to develop physically. And so they may not come in and make that splash, but you look back on him in 3 or 4 years and you go, hey, that's a 3-year starter, an all-conference player. He was an impact player. And so I think that's how you've got to evaluate it. Do you have 4 to 6 impact players in each class? And if you do, if you're on the low end, you're probably okay. If you're on the high end, you're probably playing for championships. And so that's how I evaluate us moving forward in terms of how we're doing. I think this last class, I think we had that. I think we've got 4 to 6 guys that when we look at it, you're going, okay, when we're done, we're going to feel pretty good about that. And so this group's got to step in and get ready to work and pull their weight.